What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Keys to Currency, where we interview high-level entrepreneurs doing high-level things. Today I had a very special guest on the podcast show. I had a young man by the name of Ryan Zolin. We flew all the way out to Phoenix to go meet with this guy. He was gracious enough to let us go in his office, check out his setup, but most importantly, we got to speak with him about agent outreach. It was a very dope podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy. Ryan, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm awesome. I'm excited for this interview, bro. I appreciate you having us in your whole office, and excited to ask you some questions. So first thing I want to ask you, man, how did you get into real estate?
For sure. I love that one. It's like, I feel like most podcasts kind of start with that one, and I feel like I've told it a million times. And I feel like every time I try to tell it, I try to get a little bit more detailed just to really make sure people understand the journey. First off, there was no help. There was no father's money, mother's money, family money. There was no connections in real estate. There was no friends or influence other than the fact that I just really didn't want to go to college. I was a really, really dumb kid in school. I never felt like I was like really dumb. I just wasn't focused on it. It wasn't something that I was passionate about, but there was one specific organization, girlfriend hates when I call it a club, but it was a club in high school called DECA, and it was about business and marketing. And I always found more passion and joy in that community just because it was a lot of like-minded people. It was people that put on the suit and tie. You go and negotiate. There was like kind of role play scenarios where you go and compete at international competition, district, state. And ironically, I found that I was always really good at that. So when I knew I was good at business, I came from a family where they were entrepreneurs. My mom and dad moved us out from Illinois to Arizona for them to start their own company. I just realized that there was a lot of opportunity in working for yourself as opposed for somebody else. And so one, not wanting to go to college. Two, knowing that I could work for myself if I went into a career where I was my own boss. And then three, okay, well, I'm young. What do I have to lose? So at 18, I decided to go into real estate school. It was literally July 5th, 2016. I remember that because we got out of school in May. I took like really about a month and a half-ish of just kind of messing around. A bunch of friends were always out going and like traveling and doing their thing. Honestly, I just stayed in and I played a bunch of video games and I enjoyed my last like little month of being a kid. So July 5th started real estate school. I got out like mid-August, and then I started right on a real estate team. I was an inside sales agent, just making calls 10 to 12 hours a day.
Nice. Who were you working for initially when you got started?
It was Keller Williams. It was a team called the Lux Home Group, Carly Goulet and Emily Duarte. They took a chance on a young kid that had a lot of like aspiration, but no true guidance or understanding of anything in the real world. I mean, I just passed the real estate school and test, and I mean, you know, just as well as I do, they don't teach you what you need to in the real estate school. So all I learned was, you know, meets and bounds and how many square feet were in an acre and all the ways I could get sued and lose my license. So I was like, all right, I know nothing and I feel like I'm gonna screw somebody's life up. So rather than trying to be someone that I wasn't, I was like, why don't I just go learn from someone? I have nothing to offer to a mentor. I don't have the money to go and invest into a program, and I don't know which program is even the right one. There's a bunch of ads all over social media. How do you ever know? And then lastly, okay, well, if I go work for a team or for a company, yes, I'm working for somebody else, but I'm getting my foot in the door. So once I had my real estate license, I didn't really truly understand how valuable that was, but I saw the opportunity in going and working for a team that was doing like 30, 40, $50 million a year in sales. So I just hit the phones. They put me in the corner. It was, honestly, I love them and I appreciate them for this. So if you guys see this, I love you. But it was brutal. I had to wear dress clothes and I was literally in a dress shirt, slacks, dress shoes, and they put me in the back corner by the kitchen and the bathroom with a partition up and a headset on, and they listened to my phone calls all day.
Oh, wow.
So at 18 years old, while a lot of people need to share like, oh, I don't like making that one call, I never had the person that was like, start with one. Start with two. We're gonna get to 5 calls today. It was literally 8 to 10 hours, maybe on some days, 12 hours a day of just cold calling. This was conversion, this was Boomtown, this was their website generated direct leads. This was setting up appointments for the buyers and sellers agents to go get listings and work with buyers. And
so what did that do for you? Because that's a very unique way to get started, right? Like not a lot of people get broken in like that.
I didn't even realize people had limiting beliefs about phone calls because I never even had the opportunity to really like get in my own head about it. It was just that I was thrown right to the wolves. And I was like, all right. And I understand completely, like my personality, I think I could take that. But to a lot of people, that could have crushed them. So I think it was a good opportunity. It was a good learning experience. I was only there for a short few months. And It was the only reason I chose that company, aside from the fact that they were credible, was that they offered me a salary. So it was a $24,000 a year, 1099 salary. It's not like I was making anything at all, but I closed 4 deals in 4 months there. And so I was like, oh shit. Like,
Oh, wow.
the only downfall was being an ISA was because you're on salary, you get basically the crumbs of whatever it is.
Right.
So I closed a couple deals. I mean, one of them was like a $400,000 deal. One was like a $500,000 deal. And I got a check for like $900. And I was like, yikes.
This ain't it right
This
here.
is not it. So I fortunately, while I was there in those short few months, I learned how to manage a database, a CRM, customer relationship management. And then I was able to learn how to talk to people on the phone. And then also I learned how to follow up with people. This is not a sales game where you're going to call one person and sell one house. And I always make that joke to people, and I ask it the question, I don't know why the audience is always like, no, I closed 10 deals after 10 phone calls. I'm like, shut up. Like, you take 15 different times of talking to one person to usually get the sale. Like, what's the statistics? Like 12 to 15 touches before you get the sale done. So, I mean, I was in that mind space of like, okay, well, at least my skill set that I have to offer to somebody is that I could generate leads. I know how to work hard 8, 10, 12-hour days, and I know how to follow up with people. So I went to a guy, this was the only connection that I had in real estate with the help of my father, was my dad's company that he started with my mom was restaurant repair and HVAC work. And one of the restaurants that he takes care of is a Hungry Howie's Pizza, which is right across from Arizona State University. And I was like, okay, well, this guy, Jeff, seems to be pretty knowledgeable. My dad's talking him up. And then ironically, between the 2 brokerages I was deciding between, it was this place called JK Realty and Keller Williams. And JK Realty is the brokerage that Jeff was at. And I was like, well, you can't even make it up. My number 2 option is where this potential guy that my dad's connecting me with works. So I called up Jeff and I was like, hey, I'd love to pick your brain. Let's go grab coffee. And I don't ever recommend that for people trying to get your foot in the door. Don't just go ask someone to get coffee. The reason he said yes was because he knew my dad. He thought it was gonna be just one little coffee meeting. He was gonna give me a little pep talk and then I was gonna be on my way. I sat down with him and I was just straight business. And at this point, I used what I felt my skill set was from that high school marketing business club. And then on top of having a little bit of experience, I walked in like, we're gonna split things 50-50 and you're gonna do this. And he was just like, all right, screw it. And it's because he had nothing to lose and everything to gain. The offer that I went to him saying was, I want to have you take 50% of my stuff without doing any of the legwork. Let me go find every client we have, just help me do the paperwork, teach me how to be a realtor, and take half my money. That was it.
Wow.
And what he liked about that was that I didn't go in and say, I want 50% of your deals. I didn't want anything to do with his deals. He was doing about $75,000 to $125,000 a year average in commission. So he was doing okay. He was making a lot of money from his pizza shop. And I don't know if he likes me sharing this or not, but he's a very, very, very smart businessman. He was doing high-level transactions, business broker transaction, commercial deals. He was part of the guys that I knew just from, again, father's relationships, that in the '08 crash, he was actually the guy that won. He went and bought a bunch of properties and sold them off before '08, and then '08 happened, he went and bought them all back. So this guy was able to create multiple companies, sell them off. Some things got regulated by the government, but he was selling companies for like $40 million with partnerships and investing it into real estate. So then he went and bought the pizza shop. He was making about $250,000 a year from pizza. And then he was doing an extra 100, 125 a year in real estate. He's doing extremely well. What does he have to lose by helping me? As long as I didn't take his time, which I knew was the most valuable thing that he had, why wouldn't he say yes? Right. So I had already planned out this entire pitch, this entire conversation, all the potential failures as to where he would tell me no. And I went in with just extreme confidence. And I said, hey, I am gonna work harder than anybody else ever will for you in real estate. I know you're a one-man band. Let me go and bring opportunities. I mean, my first deal ended up being my mom from there, but then we had a couple others that we worked on together, and it was just like, started stacking pieces. And as a mentor-mentee relationship, in our first year, we were the number 3 team at the brokerage. So I went from a place where I was making just pretty much jack shit in money, but I had great ability to learn a skill set, to then bring that skill set to this guy, Jeff. And then from there, Jeff and I just took off. After year 1, we were the number 3 team. Going into the next years, where I tell everyone I was 19, I had 20 plus agents working for me. Jeff and I went from mentor-mentee to actual business partners.
Oh, wow.
And so we were business partners. I was 19, he was like 40-something years old. We brought on 20 plus agents really, really quickly.
Bro, 19, you were...
I was in business, bro. I was just like, let's go.
Man, so what led to where we're at today? Because I know today you're still an agent, right?
Yep.
So what got you into the investing side?
So this is where the story gets good there. So we were at 20, I was 19, 20 years old. I had all these agents working for me. I guess that's probably just about the tail end of 19. I did what any logical 19-year-old would do that is making over 6 figures a year, has 20 plus people working for them, has a business partner that's kind of my safety net teaching me everything, and I was the face of the brokerage. I fired 21 of 22 agents. I left the business partner. I left the brokerage. And then I also, what was the other one there? I basically threw it all away. And the reason was, horrible wording on that. The reason that I threw it all away, I saw opportunity. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago at our mastermind, where what you have to do in every situation is opportunity versus risk.
Yep.
It's not the pros and cons. You really have to weigh out, is the opportunity greater than what I have to potentially lose? And a lot of what I had going for me this entire time is my age. So at 19, the reason that got me over the hill with opportunity path, which was leaving all those people, was because I met a guy, Templeton Walker. And Templeton's a guy local out here that his whole thing and strategy was send me your deals, send me your deals, send me your deals. I always just knew of him as a buyer. I just didn't quite understand what it meant. And I was in the agency world where there is no such thing as collaboration over competition. It's you find your way that you direct to seller market the best, and then you keep that in your back pocket. The goal is then to get to referral, and everything is just automated for you as a realtor. That's what most people's goal is as a traditional agent, and that's the path that I was taught to go down. So from there, when I was seeing guys send me your deals, I was like, what does that mean? He sent me a message. He's like, hey, send me any off-market properties you have. I'd love to be your buyer. And I was like, this guy is just so weird. Like, he's another agent. I can't make sense of this. Went to a breakfast with him, and he spit out that he was making $400,000 on the side wholesaling. And I was like, I'm working 60-hour weeks right now, and I'm on track to make $120K this year. I've got 21, 22 agents that are working for me. I have a business partner that's half in, half out. I have a brokerage that doesn't support me. I'm all ears right now. Like, what's going on? And when he started breaking down what he was doing, I was like, well, can I do that too? And he was just like, yeah, absolutely. I'll teach you all the ways. Then he goes over to EXP, a multi-level marketing company. It's a brokerage. And EXP is now this big shiny object for a lot of agents in the industry. And I was one of the first ones to kind of bite onto that. I went back to my business partner and all that. I didn't just irrationally say, everything's gone, throw it all in flames. I tried to bring him with. I wanted to bring the entire team with. He was in a position where he was comfortable with that brokerage because he kind of runs the show. He does a lot of commercial and business broker transactions. And for most people that are familiar in that space, if you join a commercial brokerage, your splits are usually 30, 40%. The brokerage takes 50, 60. He was at 90, 10 at that brokerage. So I can't pull him over to a place that's 80, 20 EXP. It makes sense. But I was willing to take that leap of faith. And I had an agent that actually joined with me over at the team that I was on with him. And he came and joined us over at EXP. So his name is Kyle Holder. We started growing and building and trying to learn more about the investment space. The reason I bring up EXP, it was shiny object syndrome, definitely a learning lesson. We ended up walking from EXP after a few months. They lost some checks. There was some onboarding issues, and I just felt like there was a lot. We were there too early. That was the whole thing. We were there way too early for everything. And also, I probably wouldn't have had success at EXP because I didn't have influence and the ability to scale and grow a community because I didn't know anything in the investment world.
Right.
So when I was lost, confused, fortunately there, Templeton introduced me to a guy because he's like, hey, I'm lost and confused here too. I know Steve Trang. Steve Trang is where I was prior to EXP. And I said, all right. Went and I met with Steve. Steve had his own brokerage, Stunning Homes Realty, which was primarily focused with other wholesalers in the market. And this was just honestly a blessing in disguise, right place, right time. I feel like everything happens for a reason. And Steve was right there at the right time for me. I was lost and confused. I went from 120K my best year with 20 plus agents working for me, a business partner in that brokerage, to then all of a sudden I lost it all and I was making 30, 40K when I was at EXP. That's a pretty big price cut. And I didn't learn a skill set of investment. I didn't know how to wholesale. I love temp, but we weren't really like masterminding and growing. It was more of just I was trying to find opportunities. I didn't know what I was looking for and sending it over to them.
Right.
So what I then was fortunate with the opportunity Steve gave me, with when he brought me over, he said, I was going to introduce you to people that you'll never be able to meet without me. And I was like, all right, whatever. Like, we'll see how that goes. He kept his word. 2 or 3 weeks later, he introduced me to Jamil Damji with Astro Flipping. And Astro Flipping wasn't even a thing. It was Keegley. It was just, he had a disposition wholesale company that was doing 70, 80 plus deals a month. And I was like, I'm not even going to ask to see the HUDs because if Steve says you're doing that and everyone in the marketplace says you're doing that, you are clearly selling deals for people. So how do I learn from you? You have a course, take my credit card. I didn't even ask how much it was. And at that time, it was only $6,000. I went back and I tried to negotiate. I was like, let's do 2 payments. They said, okay. And they ended up being super awesome. But then it took me about a month and a half, 2 months to get my first deal after going through the course. Got a $9K check as wholesaling, and I was like,
Proof of concept.
That was
it.
it.
Like, I'm in this.
that was it. So it was a really good opportunity for me, just being one of the first members inside Astro Flipping, because I had direct access to Josiah Grimes, Jamil's business partner. And Josiah is the one that kind of teaches a lot of the modules in the course from the OG days. And I was just like, whoa, like this guy's got so much information. So again, just like with Action, I brought like 30 different opportunities to the table. And he was like, all right, kid, on these 10, you have some. These other 20, I don't know what the hell you were thinking. These 10 right here, this one right here might be a deal, send it to my team. I was like, okay. But out of those 30 I brought into the table, if I had one, I didn't care. I had nothing to lose again, and all I had was time on my hands because I'm not a good traditional agent. I didn't have a team anymore. I didn't have a partner. That's not my focus. I don't want to be showing houses and dropping everything at the beg and will of a client. Nothing against people that do that as an agency side. I just knew for me that wasn't the lifestyle I wanted to create and get stuck into for 30 years was being an agent.
Right.
So then I failed forward a bunch, fast forward the story, failed direct to seller marketing, tried a bunch of different things, and then I fell forward into a position where honestly I failed. I got to the point where I ran out of money, but Templeton was there for me and started telling me about some things he was doing with agents rather than working with wholesalers like I was taught. And I was like, okay, well, why don't I just reverse engineer that? And then I got like a 30K check from an agent with a deal closing, and I was like, oh snap, this is the real deal. And then we started stacking momentum, market took off, we were doing 30 plus deals a month, we were clearing like 200, 250K a month in revenue, and my only overhead was this. So I have about a $5,000 a month overhead now, but at the time it was really like $3,000, $4,000 a month, and we were making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it got really stupid really fast. And then we've just been taking off since. So the last 3 years, we've been focusing everywhere between development, fix and flip, wholesaling, traditional real estate, commercial deals, land deals, private money lending, buying our own rentals, the list goes on.
Nice, man. So you get into investing and you start learning about wholesaling and all of the techniques that come with wholesaling. I really feel like there's just not a whole lot of transparency when it comes to wholesaling. Like people talk about how easy wholesaling is, but they never talk about how complicated marketing can be, right?
Yeah, tell me about it.
So what is your opinion? Because I've heard so many times from people, you never hear it on camera, you never hear it on the internet, but you hear it from mentees or mentees from other programs about how they've tried the direct-to-seller marketing and they just completely failed.
Yeah.
Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I don't think enough people talk about that because if they did, things wouldn't sell.
Right.
Courses wouldn't sell, mentorships, events, masterminds. I don't necessarily want to be the guru that goes up there and ever says my strategy is the best. My strategy of agent outreach and MLS deals is the best for me. I want every single person in the industry of real estate to find the strategy that works best for them. What I will take to the grave, my strategy is the best place to start. The reason being is because what you have to lose is time. I would rather you lose time than time and money. Because a lot of times people get into the industry, they watch a couple of YouTube videos, they invest $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, whatever ends up being into mentorships, and then they're betting on themselves. And this is stuff I don't like saying on camera. I don't ever want to tell someone not to bet on themselves, but you gotta be strategic.
Right.
What people don't talk about on camera too is surviving.
Yeah.
Why is it that it's just brushed over to have 6 months of reserves saved up? No one seems to be like how I was in high school, where the reason I was the dumb kid was because I challenged everybody. I was the one that raised my hand and said, why? Oh, you need 6 months of reserves saved up. Why? Because that's half a year.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell me that I'm going to get into an industry and there might be half a year or more that I'm going to go without a paycheck, I'm going to question it pretty heavily before I jump in. Right. And I was already, 2 feet swimming around to deep into real estate by the time I fell into wholesaling. But I will tell you, if I've ever found a get-rich-quick scheme in the world, it is wholesaling. It is 100% legal. There are ways you could do this exactly the wrong way, but if you lead with good intention, having right morals, and really doing right by people, you're actually understanding you're solving problems. And that's part of what I really like, is being put in a challenging situation where I have to solve a problem, and because I have the experience of being a traditional agent. So I think that's part of what also helped me be successful going into wholesaling. Dude, I had sold $75+ million of transactions of being an agent before being an investor. I wasn't going into any limiting beliefs like a lot of people have, where some of the limiting beliefs are, I don't have proof of funds. I don't know what a contract is. I don't know if a closing attorney or a title company are going to tell me what I need or what I don't need. I already know, okay, mess up half the transactions paperwork-wise. Title will tell you all the mistakes you made. They'll tell you what needs to be initialed here and what to sign off here. Proof of funds, find a partner. And first off, you shouldn't be doing anything wholesaling if you don't actually have buying power. So go and find a proof of funds from a hard money lender that's local, or partner up with an actual investor that's local. Now you have the proof of funds and the buying power, so you're confident. Okay, so I mean, I was crossing up all these things, and then as for contracts, like I said a minute ago, messing them up, everything's fixable with an addendum. I understood that as an agent, as long as I didn't go in with the obnoxious 5K EMD, 2-day close, whatever, like really trying to mess up the contract.
Right.
I had the understanding of how to do the business. So I think that really elevated me and helped boosted me forward to success within the wholesale world. But I skimmed over the story where I failed. I didn't have direction. I invested into a mentorship. I was in a program where I found success, but I didn't have the identity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I was taught on a broad scale, Astro was the best place to start for anything with wholesaling, and I still recommend that course to everybody. That course, if you're trying to learn wholesaling, is even better than my course, because their course is all about teaching you everything there is to wholesaling. From before you get started to the LLC and creating the company to all the different paths you could take in the wholesale world, it is from A to Z everything you need. The thing that I got caught in was analysis paralysis. I was like, I could go direct to seller marketing, I could JV deals, I could do this micro flip strategy, I could go direct to agents, I could do this, this, and this, and it was like my wheels were spinning, but I wasn't producing. And so I was also in a weird position because in real estate, another thing that's really like, I don't like this, but it's bullshit, everyone's crushing it. Everyone's crushing it when the goal is to get 1 deal a month. Okay, well, I was told I was crushing it, I started believing that, but my bank account wasn't. So it was like, yeah, I'm closing 1 deal a month, but then when I'm paying this overhead over here, I'm paying for marketing, I'm paying for a VA, I'm paying my acquisition guy 30, 40%, I'm paying a TC 10%.
Your bank account saying, help me.
Literally. And so I ran out of money, dude. Like it was literally, I just recently started telling this story as of a few months ago, but I went to my buddy Templeton crying. I went to him at a coffee shop and I was like, what do I do? And he's like, the way his brain works was reverse engineering. He's like, how many months do you have left? Let's figure this out. And I was like, 28 days. Like, what the fuck? I'm sorry if I'm not allowed to swear. But I was like, just blown away. I'm like, what do I, like, melting down. Like I felt like everything was crumbling. And this is right after I went through a bunch of personal stuff within my family and was in therapy and stuff. And it was just like everything in my world was just done. He started telling me some strategies he was doing within the send-me-your deals and how to target agents specifically with it. And if it wasn't for that moment with Templeton, I wouldn't have been as confident with an agent method as I am today. Because the minute I got that deal for that 30K check, you want to talk about some like confidence walking around as a 22-year-old, I was just like, I'm untouchable. Let's go. Like, this is truly the no marketing cost. It was literally a referral from an agent, and what Kegley and Astro Flipping and everything they teach, and that method would be considered co-wholesaling. That was a beautiful model for me because all of a sudden I had an agent bring me a deal and I was either buying it myself and taking it down and flipping it, or I was going to turn around and I was going to wholesale it to somebody else. It was a beautiful process. I obviously had to stack up some deals and get some checks in before you actually start going and buying and flipping and doing all that. Don't recommend just taking a chance there either. But I built up a nest egg. I got that 30K check and I was like, do I go back to direct to seller marketing? Do I invest into a team and into a bunch of employees? Do I go and ball out and spend it on stupid stuff? Or do I just keep it over here and be very safe? Dude, I was like, I ain't getting backed up again. I mean, I was having conversations myself, like, is my girlfriend at the time gonna pay our rent? Am I gonna have to go back to my family that I just had my issues with and ask them for help? Am I gonna have to ask a friend for help? Who am I gonna rely on? I had all these terrible thoughts in my head, on top of all the other expenses and bills and life just going on that I had. It was a really dark place. And it was at that moment when I got that check, I was like, proof of concept. Like Brent always says, I transitioned from faith to fact, and it was like, game on. So the next month, 75K. The month after that, 12K. The month after that was like 20, 30K. But I was like, I just made like $100,000 in a few months when I was like I'm still recent enough to where I can remember how embarrassed I felt, even just with myself and looking in the mirror, to now I'm walking around with money. So it was a lot of humility that I had to go through, and it was honestly, I mean, I don't feel like I ever walked around like the arrogant side trying to flash money or anything like that. It's never really been my style. But it was like a good humility moment for myself to look myself in the mirror and understand who I was. So yeah, I never really got backed up after that point. There was that one moment of I don't even call it failure. It was an experience of learning that I had to go through, and that, again, everything happens for a reason. I was supposed to go through that exact moment. But had I not gone through all that and damn near failed, I would have never made all of this happen. So.
Dude, and I'm so glad you told that story, because I think so many people that get into this business, or just entrepreneurship, period, they see guys like yourself, right? And they're like, oh,
I could do that.
He had to have like known somebody that put him in that position, or he came into this with a lot of money. But you just told a story of how you had to eat shit and go through adversity. And the reason you made it through that was because of your mindset, right?
Everything was mindset. It was me. It's that cliche saying that everyone's talking about right now with the new movie, but it's you versus you. Mm-hmm. It was literally a battle, but it was against myself. And I don't want to get like dark here, but like it was also a blessing for me that I didn't have my friends around me. I didn't have my family around me. I didn't have a lot of the noise that I feel like a lot of people in the moments where they're going back and forth and teeter-tottering with even themselves. It's because I had no other input. So it was like I realized in a place in my life that it was literally that no one cared about me aside from me. No one's gonna be there, I die alone.
Yeah.
So what am I gonna do about that? I could sit around and cry and feel sorry for myself. I could make excuses. I could go and blow all the money that I do have. I could do whatever I wanted. I thought it was time to get to work. And I'll tell you right now, and this is, again, extremely humbling, but right now while the market's transitioning and freaking out, we were talking about this before this went live, but I'm silent on social media, but I'm not freaking out. I'm the one that's kind of...
You're pivoting.
I'm pivoting, doing
making
some things,
adjustments,
and I'm correcting some issues that we had. But aside from that, I mean, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I'm not out of the industry. I'm not anywhere close to where I was failing. Like, I'm in a position where I'm extremely blessed, I'm extremely humbled, and I'm still trying to go out there and just make an impact for those around me. I know the influence that we have within our community and our reputation that we've built up. And so I'm trying to take that extreme ownership piece and be able to provide nothing but value to those around us in our community, within meetups, within just agent investors, within people on our team, our actual local community going and giving back. We're just trying to actually make a difference and just like I was saying a minute ago, do the right thing.
You started out as an agent, right? And then
Yep.
you got into the investing side of things, and you told us a little bit about that story.
Yeah.
Where are we at today? What's the strategy that we're utilizing today?
You got it. So I will reintroduce myself, but I am the MLS guy and I am an agent guy. I work MLS deals, and that's how I provide a deal flow for my team. We go and we acquire on-market properties that we sell off to our investors, or we'll take down and flip or buy and hold ourselves. Aside from that, we work with other real estate agents in collaboration where we help them by growing their business, by becoming investors themselves. We JV deals with them. They'll bring us pocket listings and stuff. Like, we'll end up just creating a win-win relationship with other agents. That's our two main focuses. Aside from that, we are building a community around us of a bunch of people and a bunch of experts in their fields, and we're aligning within strategic partnerships to really provide the best mentorship and education for those in the industry and the younger generation. So agent investors, and I can't fully disclose all the new stuff yet, but we have other companies we're working on and building. We are pretty close to partnering with the NBA, the NFL, and a couple other pretty big professional associations.
Wow.
So
what all? You said you can't talk about that.
I can talk about a little bit of it, but we're basically taking private capital from athletes. And what I realized is that, similar to what we were talking about how people don't discuss some things, it's the same thing that's taught about financial literacy. It's not taught anywhere where it should be. And that is a passion of mine, is providing for the younger generation. That's why I did the show last year with Brent, Millionaire Before 30, was that the blueprint that I want to provide for the younger people, I know I have the capability of doing.
Love that.
So NFL, NBA guys, the other thing is that most people that are in their world of business, it's always a pitch for their own personal gain. We're willing to take $0 profit on ours up front to show them how much money we can actually make them, because I've done that in the past with other people's money. I've turned nothing into hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands into millions. So I know how to basically take smaller money, like I always use the analogy, let that money make baby money, and then that goes, and that's the money that starts working for you. What I start to tell the athletes and professional people that are making money at a younger age is, stop buying liabilities, buy assets, the assets buy your liabilities. So we're teaching them a different way of thinking and helping them out where I was going with the not being a one-size-fits-all. I'm not here to say, you're gonna be a private money lender and we're gonna go and fix and flip. I'm not gonna say, hey, we're gonna just take your money and go buy Airbnbs. I'll do all of the above. Let's be a private money lending source to where we'll go in and we'll source your money and put it in places where you're making a minimum of 14% on your money. Let's go do Airbnb if that's the route that you want to go. Hey, you want to go do development? Okay, let's take your money, let's take you and a couple other people that you're associated with, and let's put money together and create a fund, and let's go and develop a project. So that's some stuff that we're working on right now where we're working out finalizing some details of big multifamily project developments where we're basically being the private money lender, but consulting for the athletes.
Dude, that's amazing. We're gonna have to have like a whole nother segment just on that
For
alone
sure,
in the
for
future.
Sure. It's crazy.
But agent outreach, right?
Yep.
Not a lot of people are aware of the strategy, right? And not a lot of people know how to utilize that strategy. What has agent outreach done for you?
Talking about mindset, I think agent outreach is the best strategy to go. This is where I was saying it's the best place to start. It's not even just because of the fact that you're not losing money, it's just your time. The beauty is that it works. So when you're going direct to seller, I don't care if you're driving for dollars, you're door knocking, you're pulling a listing, cold calling, or texting, RVM, having a VA do it, whatever it is, the response you get direct to seller is typically a big fat F you.
Yep.
I hate you, screw you. You gotta remember they're literally people. So when you're calling someone and you might be the 15th person to contact them today, yeah, I might cuss you out too, I'm not gonna lie. And that's not even counting the ones that aren't even accepting the fact that they're in that position.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, starting to factor things out, direct to seller, talk about you versus you, but you're also getting told that you're a shitty human being, F you, I'm gonna find you and hunt you down. You're like, what the hell is going on here? Agents, this is the beautiful thing about what I teach, is like, agents, the hardest part for them is finding a client. So when you're on the agency side being a buyer or a seller's agent, to go and find somebody like yourselves that will actually be interested in going and purchasing a property or selling a property they own with you is extremely hard. I've had times where friends and family end up using other people and you're like, it's hard not to say it's not personal, like, you know what I mean? But that's like, again, referring to the hardest part of being an agent is to find a client. What I found on the investment side is the hardest part of being an investor is to find the deal.
Yep.
So if you can truly understand what I said there, the hardest part of being a real estate agent is to find a client. The hardest part of being the investor is to find the deal. The joke and the irony of everything I teach is, for whatever reason, the crossover has been minimal for years and years and decades and centuries. Why are agents and investors in their own lanes rather than together? Agents, if the hardest part is finding a client, but investors, the hardest part is finding a deal, agents find deals, investors are clients.
Yeah, so I want to touch on that. I've always looked at agents like the gatekeepers to deals.
They are. They
right?
very much are.
And so many of us, we have, and it goes back to mindset, is we look at the MLS and agents like they're our enemy.
Yeah.
From an investor standpoint.
Because they're not considered real or credible, or it's not a deal. They don't know what they're talking about, this, that, whatever it is that you're saying. It's just, it's not true. What you got to understand is that agents have, you said it perfectly, they're the gatekeeper. They have more conversations than most investors do that investors claim to be investors.
Right.
Most agents, their job finding clients means that they're talking to people that are buyers. You think that if you were to train the agent on to talk to a buyer and say, hey, by the way, if you or anyone you know has private capital they're looking to deploy into deals or looking into investing into real estate, let us know.
Yeah.
Buy, sell, invest. How many agents have that in their bio, but they don't even know what that means?
Right.
Okay, now if it's on the seller approach, do you have any other properties you're looking to sell? Hey, in this case, this isn't going to be proper for a listing because of the condition. You're not going to get the price. An investor is going to be around here. I could get you a cash offer because you need to move out in the next 20, 30 days, whatever the situation is. But that's where they have that tool in the tool belt of utilizing the investor relationship. Mm-hmm. So agency side just not tapped into much at all. There's obviously this big wave right now of people trying to push into the agent outreach method, and I'm all for it because we're combating that by teaching the agents how to handle the investors. A lot of times if the investors are going to come in and they're going to be a wholesaler and not know how to position themselves into the conversation, they're going to fumble the bag, and that's okay. I think if anything, teaching the method of investors going and talking to agents at a mass scale, I almost think is abusing of the strategy because agents are then getting hit up by people that are truly not buyers and it's just wasting their time. So that's where I think that the way it's taught needs to be making sure you're intentional on the investor relationship, understanding the agent side has every right to qualify you, but you need to have every right to actually be a true buyer yourself. That's what I was referring to about having proof of funds. The amount of times people are going in and saying they're a buyer and they're not. No, you're a liar. You're not a buyer, you're a liar.
Right. Dude, so is it true you made 1.4 mil the beginning of this year, the first quarter?
We did. Unfortunately, with flips and everything, I mean, a lot of that got wiped out in Q2 and Q3. But we're going to hit over 7 figures this year, yeah.
Oh, mainly just agent outreach, right? Do you
Agent
do any
outreach
kind of
MLS.
direct-to-seller marketing?
No.
So what percentage of your deals are coming from MLS and agents?
So typically we're on the higher scale of MLS deals. This year, ironically, we're on the higher scale of agent deals. With that said, though, as of literally about 30 days ago, we've transitioned more to the MLS because the inventory count has like gone crazy. So while there's more inventory, we're doing 20 to 30 deals a month with 2,000 listings. So now if there's 20,000, the goal is that obviously we are very mindful a lot of buyers aren't actually purchasing right now, even ourselves included. So what we're doing is we're trying to be, again, specific and intentional on the MLS stuff. Instead of it being offers, we're submitting LOIs. So if I had to give you percentages, this year it's probably about 70% agent outreach, 20% would be MLS, 10% in traditional real estate. Traditional real estate being that we could get commission on deals, we could get just regular listings, work with regular clients as buyers. Honestly, that even as the market tripped it a little bit, we were fortunate that Amber sold a $1.6 million land deal. I sold a $600,000, $700,000 land deal. We had 2 buyer clients go through. We did about like $2 or $3 million in the last like 60 days in just traditional transactions. To a lot of high producing teams, it's not much money, but for us and being a smaller team, it doesn't cost much.
Now, when you say those numbers, you're talking about on the agent side or
agency side, correct.
Okay, so
commission on that would be 3% on those.
And that's the benefit of being an agent and also an investor is like.
So that's a number. I mean, I don't usually like dropping numbers and stuff like that, but I think this one's an important one to share with people. Last year, you could look it up. Did $300,000+ in commission last year as an agent.
That's really good on the
I
agent
showed
side.
one house, and it was my rental that I bought for myself.
Oh wow.
So I'm not an agent, but I made more money than what most agents make in probably 2 to 3 years average.
Right.
I mean, if they're really good at their job, they're making 6 figures. $300K in just commission last year, and I didn't show a single house. Last year was all MLS. MLS and getting commission, you do a deal, $700K, you move it at $30K assignment fee. It's a $30K assignment, and then you get $700,000 commission. I mean, the commission off that, it's $21,000 alone. So you can walk away with a $50K spread on one deal when you just did paperwork and nothing else. That's it.
That's crazy.
So we just were just cranking those out.
Wow, dude, that's awesome. So with the agent outreach model, like when you first got into it, obviously you were in hustle mode by yourself, right?
Yeah. I had one other guy with me, Kyle Holder. He was the first hire that I had when I was on my traditional real estate team that I started with Jeff.
Okay.
We had the JR real estate team, Jeff and Ryan. Kyle was the first guy I brought on, and when I left the brokerage, JK, to go to EXP, he was the only guy I brought with because I saw something in him that he also saw in me, which is why he joined us initially. And that's actually why I named my company after him. 34 Holdings is after Kyle Holder. So,
Nice.
No, I was just me and him. He was my transaction coordinator / agency side. He was actually the one that discovered the double dip. So I didn't even realize we did our double dip strategy, which is where we get a commission on a deal and the assignment fee, like in that reference I just mentioned a minute ago, the $700K deal. We did a deal where it was like $9K commission, but we had like a $20K assignment. And I remember the commission came in, he was like, "What do we do with the commission here?" And I was like, "What do you mean, what commission?" I'm like, "We got our assignment fee, we already got paid." And then he was like, "No, like we got commission." He showed me the HUD, and I was like, "We almost made the same amount in I called Steve, I'm like, "Is this legal?" And he's like, "Did you disclose this, this?" I sent over the HUD, and he looked at it, he's like, "Nice job." And I was like, "Is this a thing? Like, did I just invent something?" Like,
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, I'm pretty sure somebody's done it before, but I don't think anybody's ever like claimed like a thing with it."
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I just literally doubled. I'm like, okay, that's it. That's the strategy. So that's how I kind of came up with the concept of double dip. It was all by accident. A lot of it was kudos to Kyle. But yeah, he was running my transaction coordination and my agency side while I was trying to basically learn the investment side.
So how long did it take for you to kind of like scale up to the point where you're at now? Because I see the office, I see the people that you have. And I think that's so important is because a lot of people get into this business, right? They get into wholesaling or the investing side. and they want to get out of that hustle mode and turn it into a business. Like, at what point did you say, okay, I'm going to get out of this hustle mode and I'm going to have an actual business?
So this is where progress, not perfection, is the mentality. Because I will tell you, even to today, I have probably needed to restructure team and configure and realign things. Pivot is probably the easier way of saying it. 4 times, 5 times. So
And that's common.
Of course.
And that's another thing that a lot of people don't speak about is entrepreneurs have to constantly tear down their business and rebuild.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's
sure.
all about pivoting and making the right moves, right?
So, and I'm all for that. I will tell you that it really took me, if I had to give you like a date of some type, it would probably be about 1.5 years, maybe somewhere between a year and a half. And that time frame really just, it was brutal to me because my first few months within the program Astro, I was just almost overwhelmed with all the information. It was really abundance though. It was like a overwhelming in an exciting way because I was trying to learn as much as I could as fast as I could. And had I not had Kyle Holder basically running my traditional business, I had my traditional real estate business that was crushing it, doing a couple deals a month, paying for my marketing for my investment side. While I was trying to learn that, get it up and going, I was betting on myself and it didn't work. So I ran out of money at that point. It took me probably another 6 months or so. Actually, no, okay. I think I could probably tell you 10 to 12 months. But 10 to 12 months to really get my flow and get my like rhythm and routine and feeling confident in what I was doing was working. And then I would say after about that 1.5 year mark, I was like, I might be actually good at this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, dude. So how many employees do you have currently right now?
currently we've got 2 acquisition, we've got a transaction coordinator, we've got a marketing person, we've got a videographer, myself, and then 2 part-time people. So full-time 6, part-time 2.
You said videographer?
Yeah, he just comes in a couple times a week, does some content.
Okay.
We've, like I told you a minute ago, we've been kind of quiet on social right now. A lot of it's been the restructure, but we're trying to ramp up going into next year pretty big.
That's awesome, dude. So I see the space, man, and you've got the office location, you got the employees. Like, you've got so many people now that are opening up operations. Like, my operation is virtual.
Yeah.
And I've considered getting, a physical location, something similar to this. Have you ever tried the virtual side?
I have. I did that when I left the brokerage and the partnership and the big team. When we were over at EXP, it's on a brick and mortar brokerage. They didn't have an actual office space. So I worked remote out of our 4 months there. It was our first 2-3 months. I drove myself insane. I made an office at the house that I was at, and I had Kyle coming working with me at the office at the house, and I was like, this isn't gonna work either. So then I went over to Regis, and I got us a little office. This couch and ottoman setup is more room than what we had in our first office. Oh, wow. So we were back to back. I remember I was one day, I'm like, bro, I swear to God, if you get gas, I'm dead. But we couldn't back up chairs without hitting each other. So we went from that to, we called that the closet office, to a bigger closet office. And then we've probably been in 5, 6, 7 offices since. Started with a bunch of shared office spaces. This is my first building that's mine. So we just moved into this about 1.5 years ago, and we've got, I think another, I think we'll probably be in here for another year or so, and then we'll probably move out into something bigger.
Okay. So you've got guys that are just every day just getting on the phones with agents?
Yeah, right now. So they're on the MLS. It is 12:30. They're probably getting ready to do some follow-ups. Afternoon is usually spent follow-ups. Morning is spent for hunting. So they're usually on the MLS. They're talking to agents. They're sending out texts and responding to those. That's the morning routine. The afternoon is appointments, follow-ups, any kind of procedures along those lines.
Okay, what kind of CRM are you guys using?
We're using Podio. Podio for all of our data management, relationship management, contract management, and then we are using High Level for texting. And then on the agency side, it just switched. We were using SkySlope for a lot of our transaction management, but they just changed to something else, and honestly, I don't know what it is. Amber does all that.
Got you. What kind of feedback are you guys getting from agents right now? Are you seeing that they're kind of freaking out? Like, what are they kind of saying about the market right now?
So similar to the investment side, the agency side I'm trying to be real, but I don't want it to come across wrong, because I have so much love and compassion for literally everybody. I don't want to be misconstrued.
Well, I mean, your perspective of what you're experiencing right now.
The agency side's brutal. It is, where I'm trying to get my point across is that for the agency side, I want them to understand my loyalty is more to agency than it is to the investors, because I come from the agency. and I understand how hard they actually work. I will tell you right now, the only job field that like I've seen in my short young adult years, I mean, I've been around obviously a lot of like spaces and stuff in business, but in the space of real estate, they get taken advantage of and disrespected more than what I've seen in most industries. And they walk into an appointment quickly. It is how do I get the commission down? How do I make sure that I'm walking away with the win rather than whoever else is in the transaction? And it's like, as an agency side, to keep the discipline of having to make sure they understand code of ethics and here's what the best situation is for everybody. There's a lot of stuff that like I had to factor in before transitioning to the investment side. I say all that because on the agency side, I'm trying to get them to understand how to think as investors, because agents for the last 2 years would kill to have a listing. Whereas right now in this current market, why are all those same agents promoting saying, hey, right now is the best time to buy. If you're looking to buy before the end of the year, interest rates are low. It's at 6.5 now. Like, they're all pivoting because they have to follow the consumer. And that's what got me to the investment side, was realizing that I wasn't recession proof by being just an agent. Being recession proof is being the customer, being your own client. When you're not recession proof and you're relying on the client's buyer or seller, you're at the beg and will, and you're also at the time of mercy of whatever it is that they need. Right. So it was like, I can feel for them, and I can tell you, especially right now, most of them are going to be acting like everything's fine and dandy. There's going to be a lot of lunch and learns. There's going to be a lot of mortgage companies that are going to be coming out with a lot more educational material. I think a lot of that's going to be scrambling. I think a lot of that is them pivoting too, because title companies, for one, they're concerned that the blockchain and NFTs and crypto are going to wipe them out. Yeah. Lending, they're worried about big Middle Eastern money coming over, or other big institutional hedge funds utilizing the equity that they have in their properties to refinance, to then all of a sudden become lenders themselves. Right. A lot of mortgage companies are going to be losing their asses too, and that's where I think working with a mortgage broker as opposed to a lender is going to be huge. There's a lot of stuff transitioning on the agency side that I think people, again, like we were talking about, they're not talking.
So that's your perspective on the agency side. What do you think is going to happen with the real estate market over these next couple of years?
I'll put my disclaimer that no one has the answer. I'm being very intentional and trying to be specific so people understand. I'm watching everyone's moves just like you guys are. So while people are watching me, I'm watching others. I don't have the answers. The guy Jeff I was referring to that had the answers in 08, I don't even know if he has the answers. I'm just watching what everybody says, because the minute somebody said the right prediction, that's who I'm going to follow going forward. I don't have a prediction because I don't know. I wasn't around in any kind of bad market. The only thing I can say is when I started in 2016, Obama was in office, so it was a buyer's market, and then it transitioned to a crazy seller's market. I was around in real estate to when people actually had to work as real estate agents to be successful. So my prediction is that this is going to get very bad. I think we have another 10, 15, 20% drop. I think that it's going to come to the point where a lot of political events are going to come into place. I think that there's a lot of potential things with other third world countries and Middle Eastern countries that are some concerns. I'm going to try to keep all my political beliefs and all that stuff out of it, because all in all, you can only control what you can control. So Absolutely. What I'm talking about in my opinions, what am I doing to get ahead of that? One of the guys that was working with us in the past was always using the analogy that it's not about where the puck is, it's where the puck's going. And where I am right now, I think I'm here. I think I'm already ready to go for a breakaway. Just hit me the freaking puck and I'll take the shot. What we're doing is we're liquid heavy right now. So we're looking to wait to wherever this bottoms out, we're going to be the buyers big time. I'm going to go and I'm going to buy big commercial complexes. I'm going to buy single family homes. I'm going to work on development projects. I'm going to be working on helping basically the youth and the younger generation with creating financial freedom and setting themselves up to actually create generational wealth, as opposed to just internet rich money that goes away before you even know it. So my prediction is it's going to get really bad. I think that you're going to see inventory kind of drop a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit of a test. People are going to be like, oh, prices are going up. That's going to be a bait. I think interest rates dropping is another bait. I think prices are going to go pretty bad pretty quick. I don't know exactly what that looks like in terms of the economy with real estate market, because a lot of people have a lot of equity. So it's not like 08 where a lot of short sales could happen. However, if people bought in the last tail end of the market shift and then it tanks, they don't have equity. So I think it really depends on where you bought. I bought in 2020 with just under a 3% interest rate. I don't see those people in that category moving. Myself, I'm looking at potential options of creative finance if I were to move, but that's because I can't I can't make sense of going and obtaining a 6-7% interest rate
Right.
when you have something that's comfortable right now. So
Right.
I think that's where you're going to see a lot of like leveling out happening. It's going to be a lot more development into condos, townhouses, stacking people together. It's going to be what's affordable. I guess the only other thing I would add was that Jack Iman, one of my buddies, sent me over a video. This was about a month and a half ago, and it was referring to a double barrel market. And not a lot of people are talking about that, but essentially a double barrel market is where you have the purchase prices and value of the home going down on top of the rental prices going down. So typically, historically at least, when the prices of the home go down in value, rentals go up. But right now, because what happened was a lot of institutional money and cheap money that got printed by the government was produced and into the marketplace, all that happens is you have one big development right now, you have 15 different rentals. 10 of them are owned by hedge funds. 5 of them are owned by small mom and pop shop investors, whether it's just one rental or they have a portfolio of 5 to 10.
Right.
But what ends up happening is when somebody comes into the rental market and says, hello, I'm gonna look to be a renter, I have 15 options. So now it's a race to the bottom. So I think it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens with the rental market, more so because I think that's gonna have a dictation on just living. What's gonna happen with people with rental? What's gonna happen with people with purchasing? I don't know, I think it gets worse.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's the Wild Wild West right now. It's like
Very much.
the land of unknowns. Everyone's just kind of doing the same thing and just trying to stay ahead, but at the same time, not make any kind of moves that's going to bankrupt them, right?
So I think a lot of people, actually contrary to that, are making a lot of moves, and I think that's just as scary to watch. Like if someone's making too many moves right now, that to me is telling. And all in all, what I will say to kind of like cap this opinion here is just, I'm in my lane. I don't really worry about what other people are doing.
Right.
At the end of the day, I wish the best for everybody. I was saying a minute ago how much compassion I have and love for everybody. I want anybody to be able to call me, text me with anything they need, and I can be there for them as a resource. Where I think a lot of people are going to be stuck is over leveraging. If they over leverage over the last 6 to 12 months, it's going to wipe. So,
well, with your tactic with agent outreach, the reason why it's so beautiful is one is overhead costs are very limited, right? Obviously, you have a location, employees, that's going to be your biggest overhead cost right there.
Yep.
But moving forward in the future, like because we have agents freaking out, we've got homeowners freaking out, you have different exit strategies that you can utilize and be their problem solver.
Buy
One
and
of
hold,
them,
fix and flip, developments, and you could literally, the list goes on, but like we have so many different options. That's why what I'm trying to do with the Agent Investors movement is equip the agents.
Yeah.
I want the agents to become the investors, and I want the best of the best investors to know how to work properly with agents. If everyone's going to go and do this agent outreach method, and what is just taught is just going, I just call it lazy tactics. But like if they go and they use their lazy tactics to try to build relationships, agents are going to see right through that.
Yep.
So it's going to be a telling time, but this is where I was going to the point of my strategy isn't the best, but it's the best place to start. My strategy is going to be one of the best in this kind of a market because it doesn't kill you. So if I didn't have employees and I didn't have an office building and I was just a one-man shop where I had me, a transaction coordinator, me and a spouse, me and one other person, I could run this entire business model for less than $1,000 a month. So you do one deal, it covers almost an entire year of overhead.
right?
And what I'm saying in $1,000 a month, that's just systems. That's if you want to have any kind of marketing going of just like something in the background, a website, emails, like it could be less than $1,000 very, very confidently.
Just starting out in this, and it's like, listen, I want to get into agent outreach. I don't want to get into text messaging, cold calling. What is the first step that they need to take in order to be successful at doing this?
You need to identify what market you're going to do. I always recommend talking to a few real estate experts, whether that is an agent, a title company, another investor, just getting some input on the market you're looking at. If you can identify, first off, try to be in your backyard, but if your market's super small, less than, call it 50,000 people, 20,000 people, it's going to be a little challenging because most of the investors in there, they all know each other. So first off is identify a market. Second, you need to become a buyer. This is where most people get stuck, is that they always say find a buyer first. No, first off is become the buyer. If you can become the buyer and be the person that's confident being in a transaction as a buyer, what I'm referring to is having an actual proof of funds. If you're buying one from somebody or you're downloading one on the internet, and I've done this too, I'm not any better, but if you're doing that, I'm teaching agents to read right through it. So I'm doing that because I want you to know that while that was something that held me back from getting deals in the past too, that's something that's going to not even just hold you back from getting deals, that's something that would wipe you out going into the next year. Because if you have a buyer pool and an agent pool that's much smaller to work with, the people are going to talk. And the minute you don't perform because you really weren't a buyer, your reputation's down. Anybody that vetted you out and spoke on behalf of you, their reputation's going down. So now is the time to be an actual buyer. Get a proof of funds letter from a hard money lender because you had a conversation with them and they know that you're actually able to go and purchase this home. Does that mean you need to buy it? No. But do you have the ability to? Yes. It's no different than if you were an agent going and qualifying out a buyer. They are taught typically, most of them do this, some don't, you don't show houses till your client's pre-qualified. We're not window shoppers. We're actual buyers. So it's the same concept as the investment space. Be a buyer with a hard money loan. Be a buyer with a private money lender loan or letter, whatever. Go and get a buyer that is already actively buying in this market and say, hey, I come across a lot of distressed properties and there's a lot of times I want to take them down, but I just can't do it. Can you help me out? I'll JV the deal with you. I'll take 25%. I want you to take 75. Why is everybody taught to go take 50%? Who gives a shit? Lose the ego, go take 25%. If you think you're losing 75%, no, you're getting 25 to learn. You're getting 25% to learn. You're getting paid to go and do something you had no idea how to do on your own.
Wow.
So go and do that, be the buyer, then find the buyer. Find another buyer aside from the one that backed you up. Find another person that can be a dispo wholesaler for you. Find those relationships and then get to hunting.
Okay. That's a good strategy. So in regards to connecting with agents, what do you recommend people do if they want to develop relationships with agents and do the whole agent outreach model?
So I love this because I think this one's overthought. People don't realize everything I say is the hardest part of being the agent is to find the client. So if the hardest part of being the agent is to find the client, do you think that agents might spend a little bit of money to find a client? Because I think I would. Investors spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go find deals. So why wouldn't an agent spend hundreds of thousands of dollars if they had it, if not anything, just tens of thousands of dollars to go find clients? A lot of them would. So Zillow, there's a premier agent section. Those agents are literally paying tens of thousands of dollars a year to be there. Call them. If the hardest part for them is to find a client, guess what? Do you think that their phone's constantly ringing? Because I'll let you guys in on an inside scoop here. It's not. The people that pay $1,000 a month, the average leads they get typically is like 5 to 7. Ooh. So for 5 to 7 leads, if you're in a really hot location, these leads can cost you anywhere from $250 upwards of $750 per lead on Zillow. So imagine how you feel when you're an agent and you get that one person on the phone because you're a really good agent, you paid for the lead, you call them right away, and the person on the phone's like another agent looking for their client because they're just not an educated agent. They don't know any better.
Right.
You found someone that was just looking and just curious. Oh, I just wanted to see what the house next to me was looking like. That click costed $750 to the agent. The reason I share all that, don't click the button. Their number is right there. Be courteous and call them. Hey, I just found your information on Zillow. Just wanted to reach out. I'm an investor. I'm looking to buy some properties, but honestly, the agent I was working with isn't in the business anymore. The market just wiped him out. Can you help me out? Boom. They'll be like, absolutely. This is my unicorn client. Thank you. Zillow finally paid off.
Man.
Finally paid off. Realtor.com does the same. Trulia does the same. Redfin does the same. Those are 4 different sites that all have realtors. Now, if you want to take it a step further, this is some stuff that I teach within the course. The Ring doorbell app, the neighborhood apps, Facebook groups, finding different ways to get in front of people where you could create an inbound flow of leads as opposed to outbound. Outbound is where you pay for it and you have to go do the outreach. Inbound is where they're contacting you. If you could put one post out onto a neighborhood app or on a Ring doorbell app or on a Facebook group and get inundated with 50 to 500 people that are trying to contact you, you're like the new person in the school and everyone's trying to date.
Yep.
You're the one that's like, I'll pick you, and I'll pick you, and I'll pick you, and then you're looking for the VIPs. You're looking for the agents that are the best of the best that actually want to work with you. Doesn't need to be the best of the best at their job, the best of the best at finding the opportunities for you.
Man, he is giving gems right now, guys. I'm actually part of your program, part of the Diamond Investors, Agent Investors
Yes, sir.
program, and I got to say, man, it was a game changer for me and my business. 2021, we slaughtered it with cold calling, text messaging, even PPC. this year we started to see a decline with direct-to-seller marketing. And I can't remember where I seen it. It was either on Steve Trang's podcast or with Brent Daniels, but you started talking about agent outreach.
Yep.
And I was just glued because of all the strategy you were speaking of.
Yep.
And I think I joined your program, it might have been in July.
I say you were towards the beginning there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And dude, it took our business to a whole nother level, dude.
Awesome.
I mean, we started averaging every month just off of the MLS and doing deals with agents, 8 to 10 deals a month.
Damn.
Just off of that. I mean, we're still doing direct to seller.
For sure.
But it was just a complete game changer. And now the way that I have my business set up, dude, is like, that's all I do. Agent outreach. I mean, I remember I was getting calls, on the way here, just getting voicemails from agents just bringing me opportunities. And I think people just really sleep on the opportunity of doing agent outreach, right? It's because you've got so many different exit strategies you can utilize with agents. If it's something that's at the top of the market, but that seller's so desperate, I can utilize a creative finance deal to help them get out of it, right?
All day.
And so I think people just look past that. So you got a program, right?
I do. Agent Investors. We're not even a year into this. We actually launched, it was April 1st. If I look back at hindsight, launching a course on April Fool's Day, probably not the best move. But we have just passed over 300 students. We have been up again since April. It has been honestly extremely, extremely humbling and more even fulfilling. Like, I have had a lot of fun and joy in doing deals, and we are still doing deals. And we're growing within the real estate industry still. But the thing that I found is that I have a lot of knowledge and experience that I can share with other people, and they could grow with us. It's not like I need to be the guy that has made it, and I could be the one saying, I have all the answers, here you go. I'm the first person in my community to tell someone, I don't know the answer to that. However, I've got relationships with people that do. Let me figure that out. Thank you for bringing that up. This is going to be a great learning lesson for the both of us.
Right.
And people appreciate that. We are blowing this up and have a lot of really cool big things planned for next year. We just did our mastermind just for the Diamond Tier students, where basically what I did was I integrated the crypto and NFT space into the education space of real estate. So people get access with NFTs, and those that have the NFTs, they get access to these events for free. So anytime Diamond Tier students are out, just like this, come and hang out with us, spend time with my team, let's record some content together. I just wanted them to understand that I've been a part of communities and I've seen things, and I know exactly what to do to grow one too. So I want to make sure people know that in my community, my Diamond Tier students, they're my favorites. They're the people that get the top priority. Anything and everything they need, I'm there for them as a resource. They can do one-on-ones. They get access to coaching calls weekly. They get access to my team, all of our contracts, all of our calculators, all of my relationships. Then on top of that, the cool experiences, the cool experiences that we do out here too.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, you're creating a dope community, dude.
Appreciate that.
And I look forward to see where it's gonna go.
Well, dude, we're happy to have you be a part of it, and it's honestly it's just so cool. It's cool to see everybody grow. We've got people in the program that while this market's shifting and everyone's kind of running around with chickens with their heads cut off, we have students in the program that are still doing 6 figures a month. Yeah. We have students that are doing better than me at the strategies we teach in our program, and I smile because that makes me happy, because I never want anyone to think if my students are doing better than me, fuck yeah, I'm doing my job. Yeah. So it's cool. We even have a guy, I got to give a shout out to Wyatt. This dude is out in Virginia, joined literally a week and a half ago. He's gotten 3 deals in a week and a half, all through agent outreach. His very first phone call, the agent brought him 6 listings, pocket listings. They weren't even on market. And it's just what we teach, it's real, it's not anything fake, and I don't want anyone to ever feel like what we talk about and things that we're doing isn't attainable. Obviously, yes, I have a program and a course, but if you notice, it's brought up at the end because I don't need to sell it. And I say that again, extreme humility. I'm good. I'm making money doing my own thing. What I want people to do, don't spend money you can't afford to lose. Invest into yourself with your time and commitment, and show that you're actually serious about doing this business. If you want to shortcut stuff, absolutely join a mentorship. If you're trying to learn how to fix and flip, I'm not the course. If you're trying to learn creative finance, I'm not the course. If you're trying to learn how to wholesale 101, I would even advise other courses over my own. If you're trying to learn how to do agent deals and work with agents specifically through agent outreach and MLS, I'm the best in the business. And I will say that, I'll hang my head on that extremely proudly. I have mastered this skill. And if you go back and watch all of the stuff that I've been doing for years now, I've been the guy that was agent stuff and MLS related for years. I'm not the guy that's going to try to pull it up now and try to do some rich, like, get rich scheme here, money grab. Everything I've done has been true to who I am, and the course even launched before the market went down. So what we're doing and building with this community is a beautiful thing. I'm so happy to see where it's even at today. If you'd have told me back in April when we launched this that we'd be here today with where it's at, there's no way in a short 9-10 months I would feel like this would ever have been possible. So even thank you to you for trusting in me and believing in me and being a part of this. It's still the beginning, and it's exciting to see where this thing's going to go. Yeah,
dude, we got to bring awareness to that because, like I said, it's been a game changer for my business, and I'm not going to put anyone on my platform that I don't believe in and that hasn't helped me. So, guys, hope you guys got some gems out of this. If you're interested in Ryan's course, we're going to have a link that is connected to this video. Please click that link, fill it out. Ryan, any final thoughts, man?
No, dude, I appreciate you. For those watching, just remember, stay true to who you are and stay consistent. Get around the right people, be a sponge, lose the ego, don't have entitlement, ride the waves, and enjoy the journey.
There you go, guys. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Appreciate it, bro.